don't look at the challenges solely, but consider the wider system. I was looking for a discipline that bridges the gap between business and design. I've worked in several agencies, and at the end of the day, I was always like, wow, this is a nice design, but what is behind it? My master thesis is about how we can support distribution network operators, those that are responsible that we have the energy in our socket, during the energy transition by helping them to visualize the steps of digitalizing their grid. In this field, we do not only have the energy transition, we also have the heat transition and the mobility transition. This is where service design comes in again. We need to consider the whole system of challenges and the interconnections within it. In Germany, we want to be climate neutral by 2045. It's a marathon, not a sprint. This transformation also needs to consider the people that are affected with it. So I think there's a strong potential for service design in this field. For me, it's really having a service design mindset, to be open, to be friendly, to co-create, and putting the human in the center. You really need endurance. For service design, you really dive deep into the topic and need to consider that there might be some complexity. I see myself as a strategic design consultant. I will still work in this field. I will also continue working in our family business, supporting digitalizing distribution grids and trying to make an impact as a designer.
Welcome again to this series where we do portraits of service design learners within the Master Service Design of the HSLU. And today I'm joined by two lovely, brilliant, smart people. The first of which is obviously Johanna. Welcome, Johanna.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm super excited to share with you my experiences of service design.
Thank you so much for joining. And we have my partner in crime, Andy, with us. Hi, Andy.
Hi, lovely to see you both again.
It's such a pleasure to have you both here. I'd like to start directly with you, Johanna. Can you tell us a little bit around who you are and how you discovered service design, and why, of all the beautiful things in the world, did you choose this specific thing to learn further?
Yes, so for everyone, I'm Johanna and I'm studying service design. I was quite interested in service design as I was looking for a discipline that bridges the gap between business and design. I originally started with graphic design and visual communication in Frankfurt. Yes, I've worked in several agencies, and at the end of the day, I was always like, wow, this is a nice design, but what is behind it? How do we sell it? And does it even generate revenue? So this is how I figured out that I want to study a master's in management. This is why I went to another school of business and economics and went to Lisbon to actually study management. I had both, the management part and the design part. I first read about service design when I was researching my project for my master thesis, where I wanted to prove that we need a community garden at Nova School of Business and Economics. And yeah, this is how it all started. One key pillar was co-creation. I found similarities with service design and said, I'm 24. Why should I not do a second master degree? That's why I'm here.
It feels to me that you have studied these two very different things, and that now through this second master you're trying to blend those, mix them together. Is that the intention behind this choice?
Yes, I think this is actually the point, to bring those two things together, because I think two disciplines have important things to consider. But I think it's good to consider the business side and the design part as well. And I think by combining both, you're going to be really successful.
I've just been teaching business design last week to the master students, and my phrase there is always that it's the other side of the coin of service design. Without it, you just have a bunch of concepts, which are nice, but they have to be able to actually be implemented somewhere. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your project. You've taken something very contemporary, very important, but also really complex.
I think it's a really complex topic. It's around energy transition. My master thesis is about how we can support distribution network operators. Those are the people that are responsible that we have the energy in our socket during the energy transition by helping them to visualize the steps of digitalizing their grid. Therefore, I want to share some slides with you to really dive deep into the topic that, you get a red line in it. You probably know we have high CO2 emissions and therefore we have goals to reduce CO2 emissions. So basically we are in a transformation coal-based power plants to renewable energies. And with this transition, there come a lot of challenges. And I prepared a slide that visualizes what has changed, because in the past we had a centralized energy supply system, which means it was like a one-way street. From the transmission network, the energy went directly to the local distribution grid, to the consumers. But as we are transforming to our renewables, we have a bi-directional energy flow at this stage, and it's a decentralized energy supply system. But of course, the renewables need to be integrated in the regional distribution grid. So this means when a consumer wants a solar panel, of course, the consumer thinks, well, great, I'm participating to the energy transition. But the responsibility still lies in the hands of the distribution network operator that needs to integrate the renewables in the local grid. And therefore, the distribution network operators need to digitalize their grid. It's a really complex topic, and we often start with the consumers as we can identify with them, as we also want to integrate renewables. But I think the lever stays within the distribution network operators that need to make it possible. So as a prototype, I created a visualization of 6 layers how to digitalize the network. It's in German, but the idea is that distribution network operators can look at the roll-up banner placed in a real field and can find themselves, where are they standing at the moment? Are they in layer 1 or are they in layer 4? And what do they really need? This prototype really served as a tool to get engaged with different stakeholders at events and to really exchange what are your needs at the moment and where can we help. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a technical expert, and I developed this prototype with a multidisciplinary team. But I think it was quite interesting to see, by visualizing complexity, we have the possibility to really have great discussions on what is really needed.
I was quite surprised when you first introduced the topic at how analog and blind the network distribution operators are. You were describing that people will have seen those little kind of substations or those little grey buildings around the place where where some of the distribution's happening, and they're sort of in the side of a field or something. And one of those can be on fire and the operator doesn't know until the power drops out, right?
With my practice partner, with our family business, I have like the direct connection to this field and had several talks about this topic. And some of the distribution network operators already digitalized their transformer stations. And if you consider one distribution network operator has 100 transformer stations, they have a few that are digitalized. But of course, you're right. Some of the distribution network operators haven't digitalized their transformer stations yet. This is why transparency is really needed.
And digitizing means that they are able to sort of monitor all of these things on some kind of dashboard or something, right? Whereas previously, yes. I mean, this is the bit that I was like, previously they have not been able to do this.
Yes, I think there's difficulty applying service design in this field because it's super technical. To say it in easy words, they are the transition from hardware to software. And of course, with that, there come a lot of challenges, and also challenges designers need to tackle, of course.
As I understand, it's not just the fact that you've gone from this sort of centralized power station system to this very distributed model of lots of different power generation devices and forms. You've also talked about something called sector coupling. Can you describe that a little bit more?
Sector coupling is a really important term in this field. We do not only have the energy transition, we also have the heat transition and the mobility transition. For example, electric cars. And of course, they also need energy. This is where service design comes in. We need to consider the whole system of challenges and the interconnections within it. Like the energy transition is connected with the heat transition and, of course, the mobility transition. And overall, in the future, we will need more energy because of those transitions.
In what way do you feel service design plays a role here, or can have a role to play?
I think service design plays a crucial role in it, and so far it's not really explored, and the value in it isn't widely researched. I really think service design can add value by making the complexity visible and to really see those different components that are taking part in this whole transition, to take it as a complex topic and to make it easy understandable. And in the wider context, of course, I'm working in an organization, but I also see a value in transforming it to the wider public, to also let consumers know what is actually taking place.
There's a common line I've used with service design often, which is about sometimes making the visible invisible. Like you sometimes want to push some stuff that's been a headache for people front stage and push it backstage, but often it's the other way around, making the invisible visible. You know, energy consumption being one of them, right? Most people have electricity and gas meters hidden away in a cupboard somewhere, so you have no idea how much you're using. That was at a time when it was just like, well, we wanted to hide away that sort of dirty stuff. Now, with things like smart metering, you're bringing that visible again so people can see, oh my God, I'm using all this power. I go and turn some lights off and all the rest of it.
Yes, and I think, at least in Germany, we want to be climate neutral by 2045. It's a marathon, not a sprint. This transformation also needs to consider the people that are affected with it. So I think there's a strong potential for service design in this field.
I really like that part of your project around the people, because one of the things that I found interesting was you described there's multiple, not quite operating systems, but multiple different systems for the operators to digitize. And some of them are holding back because there's a sort of anxiety about, well, if I make the wrong choice and the wrong investment. And that also feels like that's, well, ripe for some service design at least. Is that the case?
The whole topic is about making the right decision because there are budgets behind it. And this is why it's so complex. Maybe there is no right decision. Maybe we just have to go with the time to see what kind of new products are on the market. But this is quite technical, and I would give the word to engineers who actually know what kind of technical opportunities there are. In terms of service design, we can make those products visible and support the people by offering a service that helps them decide on those options.
What are your key learnings that you did around service design already in the studies, but also in the practice, in the research that you've made?
When thinking about service design, I always have those three pillars in mind. It's to see the whole challenge holistically, like really seeing the system and the ecosystem behind it, or interconnections. And I think this is one important key learning. Don't look at the challenges solely, but consider the wider system. I also really like about service design that we co-create, that we really integrate the users in our research and solution finding. Service design should be user-centered. Personally, I prefer the word human-centered because I think this is also one biggest learning. Those are not users. Those are humans. And when we talk about humans, we talk about interactions and really disciplines like sociology or psychology, ethnography. It's really broad. So I think always considering to spend time with the humans to really understand their specific needs. When you're working within an organization, I think you should always consider, is my organization service design ready? I think this is one part that I wasn't aware about, because of course when you stay in your service design bubble and a design environment, you think, oh wow, it's clear what is service design. We all know that, right? But maybe the people and other stakeholders within different fields aren't aware. I think one biggest learning is really to start with a workshop. What is service design, and what kind of added value will we have with going with a service design mindset? I'm not using it as a methodology. For me, it's really having a service design mindset, to be open, to be friendly, to co-create, and putting the human in the center.
This is very strong. We call that with Andy the leading conversation bit of service design, where there is all the crafts, there is all the mindsets, but then there is a lot around. How do you bring all of that into conversations one to one during a lunch? How do you bring all of this knowledge, all of these mindsets slowly but surely, especially in house? There is a lot of culture change, there is a lot of work to be done there. And it's quite beautiful to see how you're also shifting in this approach, in going from this is a craft aspect to this, there is a leading the conversation bit. And I'd be curious to hear from you. So you are someone who has worked in graphic design. You're someone who has worked and explored management, business management. What makes service design special? What are the learnings that you didn't have yet from graphic design or from management that you discovered through service design?
I think for me, it's really the way of thinking, because business people think differently than design people. Business oriented people are really logical and have a linear way of problem solving. I think design disciplines, and I would consider service design like in the middle of it. Yeah, consider iteration, loops. Maybe you go one way back, but at the end of the day, I think by combining those of exploring a solution could really add a value to organizations and also to other problems. I mean, we do not only need to consider projects that generate revenue, we also have a lot of social projects. For example, the community garden project that I did in Lisbon. The impact was different, but still really, really valuable.
You are a person that knows extremely well how this master's in service design works. And for people who maybe are watching this thinking, should I move to a master's? Should I just learn by myself? Could you tell us, for whom is a master's in service design? And more importantly, for who it is not?
I can just talk about my own experience. I think it's for people that are interested in business and design and maybe want to bridge the gap. I also think it's for students that are really curious to learn more about service design and the different fields. At HSLU, we do not only have service design, we also have eco-social design and interaction design. So this might be interesting to connect with other disciplines as well. Also, you really need endurance, because for service design, you really dive deep into the topic and need to consider that there might be some complexity. So you really also need to read a lot, to do some research to really understand the challenge you want to tackle.
So, Johanna, you've been working for your family business, and you still do. And so you automatically kind of came in with an industry partner. Is this something you'd recommend for other students?
Yes, definitely. Even though it's not a precondition, I've made positive experiences with it because I've been working before in the organization. I could see the challenges that might arise. I talked to stakeholders, and then I had the idea, oh, we could change something here. And also, I think it's a great opportunity to test your prototypes directly in the field, because at the end of the day, we are serving the target group, and it makes sense to design something that can be implemented in the end. So definitely yes.
You're now in your final year at HSLU in Luzern of doing service design in your master's. What are the next steps for you, and how might people out there in the world who are watching this help you in some way?
I see myself as a strategic design consultant. So I will still work in this field. I will also continue working in our family business, supporting digitalizing distribution grids and trying to make an impact as a designer. Other than that, I'm always open for freelance work, and I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn. So if you like the topics that I'm talking about and want to exchange, please text me. And you could also have a view at my online portfolio. It's johannapfeffer.com. And yeah, I'm happy to have a chat.
There's quite a lot of people working in transition design, energy transition, who may have something to offer or be good to connect with you.
Thank you so much, Johanna, for sharing parts of your journey and some of the key learnings you made here. It's such a pleasure to have had the chance to speak both with you, Johanna, and with you, Andy. Make sure to check all the work Johanna has done and to connect with her on LinkedIn. Once again, thank you so much, Johanna and Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you.